What is up, everybody? We are back. In today's video, I want to do a do-it-yourself video, how to install a shelf for my YouTube studio. So the first thing you need are the shelf brackets, whatever kind or design you want, and then a piece of wood or some other material to be the shelf body. You also need, for this one, we're not going to be putting anything real heavy on it at all. So we're going to be using drywall anchors with the screws and washers as well. So we're not going to get super technical with this because it's for our YouTube studio. It's just going to be right about here, and it's going to have a book on it, some light objects, so we're not super concerned with hitting the studs. We're going to mount it right to the drywall. So let's get started. First thing you want to do is figure out about where on your shelf you want these brackets to be. So I'm just going to really use this as a guide, the top of this switch plate as a guide, because that's really where I want it, right on top of that switch plate. And I'm going to go ahead and take that as good enough. So from there, I'm going to make a little mark. Better off with a pencil. Let me grab a pencil for the next one. Boom. So I can see where my marks were, so let me draw them a little bit better. Do right there and right there. So then we're going to get started mounting this first bracket. Again, I'm not being super technical with it because it's just for my YouTube studio. I will be happy as long as it is level. So, have this out here. So now that our holes are marked, we're going to pre-drill them to install the drywall anchor. And I'm just using a wood bit about the size of the drywall anchors. Sometimes you gotta make them a little bit bigger so that they'll fit. Just kind of put the drill back in the hole and kind of start working around a little bit. Let me see. Not quite big enough. I think we might go one bigger. This is a 3/16 bit now. Just see how that works. Might help us out a little bit. Good deal. Now you're going to want to take your hammer and just pop that drywall anchor into place. You don't want to drill your hole too big because you don't want those anchors to be loose. You want them to be nice and tight. There we go. Now we are going to take our screws with our washers, switch the bit out to a Phillips head. We're going to place our anchor there. I like to just get them started. Then it kind of holds up there a little easier. So we're going to get that one started. Hope you guys can see this. Like I said, super simple. We're not putting too much thought into it. This is a little bit of a difficult one here because of the angle of this bracket. We'll get it tight though. And there is our first bracket installed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the shelf back up there to line up my next anchor. And I'm not, like I said, if this was for a client's home, we would be being way more technical with it. But we just want to get this up so we can get some stuff on the wall behind us so it looks cooler for you guys when I'm making videos. So we've got our level up there, and now we're just going to make it nice and level. Now I know that that's good shape for being level, so we can put books and things like that up there. So now I'm gonna, whoops, make sure you hold it nice and tight. Now I'm gonna mark these little spots again. We're gonna take the level off, take the shelf and the bracket away, and start drilling again. So now we've got our 2 spots marked. So we will drill. You want to be careful if you don't hit a stud and you go to the drywall that you don't feel anything else. Now I know the only thing on this wall is this electrical, so I'm not too concerned about hitting any plumbing or anything else behind there, but you do want to be careful, especially when drilling through any kind of surface that might have something inside. So now we're going to take our anchor, we're going to put it in place. We're going to hammer that in nice and tight. Up here, same thing. That hole might need to be a little bit bigger, so we'll just widen it a little bit. Oh, not quite yet. If you start to bend that anchor, you know you gotta make your hole a little bit bigger. So I hope you guys are able to see this. I hope this ends up being a good video. Yep, that's still a little too small. So we're gonna go one more time. Sometimes I even like to put the screw into the anchor a little bit and then set the anchor there and hammer it in so that it starts to get in there nice and good. And then once it's in better, then you can take your drill, remove, this is if you're having trouble getting the anchor in. Remove the screw, and then it should be easier to get the rest in. Now, same thing as the first bracket. We get our bracket in place. That in there nice and tight. Let's see where this one ends up. So we got this one here. Now we've got our shelf with our brackets all level. So that's perfect. We did a great job on that. But now we gotta secure our shelf platform. So I'd like to pull this out a little bit so these brackets don't stick out. Like I said, these were just some odds and ends I had in my shop. So I wanted to make something work. Now I have these smaller screws that I know will not go through the top of the wood because they're just not long enough to do so. So I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna get this shelf up there as kind of just use my thumb as a guide. Like I said, in someone's house we'd be being way more technical, but this is for the studio and it's gonna look great. And we're just gonna set this in nice and even there. We're gonna do the same thing over here. Perfect. And then I also have 2 other small screws for in the back. So we'll just put that one up in there. Good. Sometimes these brackets, they make these brackets with these odd things in the middle and it makes it difficult to get to them, but that shelf is nice and sturdy now. I don't like the way this screw sank, so that's better. There we go. We have our shelf all done and ready. It's anchored nice and tight. You could actually put some heavy stuff on there. It's not going anywhere. So, like always, like this video so other people can find it. Leave me a comment of some cool do-it-yourself stuff that you've done. And like always, subscribe.